You finished everything on your list today. Every task, every email, every box checked. You were productive from the moment you woke up until the moment you finally sat down. You didn't cut corners. You didn't coast. You did the thing right, the way you always do, and you still feel behind. Not tired behind, not I'll catch up tomorrow behind, a deeper kind, the sense that no matter how much you get done, there's an invisible amount more you were supposed to have finished by now. Somewhere, a version of you is already ahead, and you can't quite catch her, even though you can't actually describe what she's doing differently or where exactly this race is even headed. You check your phone during the 5 minutes you gave yourself to unwind. Someone posted a promotion, someone launched something, someone your age bought a house or got engaged or wrote a book, and you feel that familiar drop. Not jealousy exactly, more like a scoreboard update you didn't ask for and can't opt out of. And instead of feeling proud of your own full, honest day, you feel the floor tilt slightly under you again, like the goalpost moved while you weren't looking, like everyone got a memo about the actual pace of life, and yours got lost in the mail somewhere along the way. This isn't just poor time management. Psychology calls it something else entirely. It has a name, and it's not about your calendar or your to-do list. It's about a metric, an internal ruler you've been using your whole life to measure enough. And that ruler was miscalibrated a long time before you ever picked it up. It has an origin, it has a cost, and strangely, it has a gift hiding inside it too. One most people carrying this pattern never actually get told about. And it's not a flaw in your character. It's not laziness dressed up as anxiety. And it's not you being ungrateful for a life that, by most external measures, is going fine. It's a specific, well-documented psychological pattern with a real mechanism behind it, which means it also has a real way out. This pattern usually starts early, and it rarely starts with achievement itself. It starts with safety. For a lot of people who feel chronically behind, childhood ran on a shifting scoreboard. Maybe approval in the house was tied to results, not effort. The A on the report card mattered more than the studying that got you there. Maybe love felt conditional on performance, even in small, quiet, never spoken aloud ways. Or maybe there was real instability, money that came and went, a household mood that shifted without warning, a parent who was proud of you loudly one week and distant the next. And staying busy, staying useful, staying on top of it, was the only lever a kid actually had to feel some control over an uncontrollable environment. Psychologists call this contingent self-worth, when your sense of value gets tied to output and performance instead of being a stable background fact about who you are. Research on contingent self-esteem, notably from psychologist Jennifer Crocker's work at the University of Michigan, found that people whose self-worth depends heavily on external achievement experience more anxiety, more fragile confidence, and less lasting satisfaction from their own success, because each win only proves worth temporarily. The bar doesn't stay cleared once you clear it. It quietly resets itself the next morning, like it was never cleared at all. There's a related concept worth naming too, the arrival fallacy, a term coined by Harvard psychologist Tal Ben-Shahar, describing the widespread and false belief that reaching a specific goal will finally deliver the relief and sense of enough you've been chasing. It doesn't. Because the goalpost was never actually the destination. The feeling of enough was the real destination, and that feeling was never being generated by the achievement in the first place. It was always going to have to come from somewhere else, something the achievement itself was never designed to provide. This isn't a character flaw, and it isn't weakness. It's an adaptation that worked. A nervous system that learns to earn safety through performance is a nervous system that's trying to protect you the only way it knows how. The problem isn't that the strategy was wrong back then, it's that nobody ever told you it was safe to retire it once the actual threat was gone. So somewhere along the way, without really choosing it, you built a life that runs on proving something. And proving is a job that never technically finishes, because there's no version of proven enough written down anywhere for you to check yourself against. There's no ceremony where someone tells you the debt is paid. People like you tend to run on the same internal settings, even when the surface behavior looks different from person to person. You measure days by output, not experience. A good day gets quietly defined as a productive one, not necessarily a day that actually felt good to live through while it was happening. You compare your finish line to other people's highlight reel, usually without meaning to. A scroll through LinkedIn or Instagram quietly recalibrates what on track is supposed to look like, and somehow you're always slightly behind that invisible shifting average. You struggle to rest without guilt because rest doesn't move the scoreboard, so some part of you treats downtime as wasted time instead of what it actually is. Recovery your body and brain genuinely, physiologically need. You over-explain your effort to people, almost defensively, listing everything you did that day as if someone might accuse you of not trying hard enough, even when nobody asked and nobody was going to. You also tend to downplay your own accomplishments almost automatically, deflecting compliments, minimizing wins, moving straight to the next task before the last one has even had a chance to register as finished. But here's where it gets interesting. You're not actually chasing more achievement. You're chasing the moment the feeling stops, and you keep expecting the next accomplishment to be the one that finally delivers it. It never quite is, so you go again. Not because you're undisciplined about stopping, but because you've genuinely never been shown what done is supposed to feel like from the inside. Nobody ever handed you that reference point to compare against. When was the last time you actually felt done? Not exhausted, not simply out of tasks for the day, but genuinely, peacefully finished, with nothing quietly nagging at you underneath. If you can't remember, that's the cost. This pattern quietly steals your present tense. You're rarely fully in the day you're actually having because part of your attention is always somewhere else, on the gap, on what's still owed, on what's still incomplete, on what you should be further along on by now compared to some imagined timeline nobody actually wrote down. You can be at dinner with people you love and still be half scanning tomorrow's list. Psychologists sometimes describe this as an achievement treadmill, a specific version of the broader hedonic treadmill, where each win briefly lifts your mood before you recalibrate right back to baseline and start scanning for the next thing to prove. The lift never lasts as long as you expect it to. And here's something that almost never gets said out loud. Burnout in people like you rarely comes from doing too much. It comes from doing enough and still not feeling like it counted for anything. That's a different injury than plain overwork, and it doesn't respond to the usual advice. Rest doesn't fully fix it either because the exhaustion underneath isn't only physical. It's the fatigue of running a race with no visible finish line and calling the running itself motivation, year after year, without anyone ever telling you it was allowed to end. It shows up physically too, not just mentally. A jaw that stays tense without you noticing. A body that struggles to power down even in bed, still quietly running calculations about tomorrow. Chronic low-grade urgency has a cost that shows up in sleep, in digestion, in how quickly small frustrations turn into disproportionate reactions. Because a nervous system that never gets the signal, "we're safe, we're done," doesn't get to fully rest, even when the day is technically over. But this same wiring gives you something most people never build, an unusually high internal standard, and the actual discipline required to consistently meet it, even on the days nobody's watching. Research on conscientiousness, one of the most robust and well-studied personality traits in psychology, consistently links it to higher long-term achievement, greater financial stability, stronger relationships, and even longevity, precisely because people high in this trait don't stop at good enough, the way most people naturally do. It's one of the strongest predictors we have of long-term life outcomes, across cultures and across decades of research. Think about the people you actually trust to follow through on something hard. Chances are, this trait is exactly why you're on that list for other people too. The one they call when it actually matters, because they know you won't quietly let it slide. You didn't lose the ability to feel satisfied. You traded a version of it for the capacity to keep showing up long after motivation has already run out. That's genuinely rarer than it sounds. Most people quit the exact moment the feeling of reward disappears. You kept going without it. You just never got the chance to learn that the going itself was already the proof you were looking for, and had been the whole time. Here's the shift, and it's small on purpose. Stop asking, "Have I done enough today?" and start asking, "Did I show up the way I meant to?" One question is a scoreboard that never stops moving, no matter what you put on it. The other is something you can actually answer honestly, tonight, before bed, without needing a single external metric to confirm it for you. You don't have to prove today was worth something. You already know it was, because you were actually in it. You finished everything on your list today. That was never actually the problem. The ruler was. You're not behind. You've just been measuring your entire life with a tool that was never built to tell you when to stop. And now at least you know that, and you get to put it down whenever you're ready. If that hit somewhere specific, you're probably going to connect with the next video too, because the same instinct that keeps you proving yourself is often the same one that makes you terrified of disappointing people, even ones you barely know. Click to find out why.